Zapotec is a game for 1 to 4 players with a playtime of about 60 to 75 minutes, designed by Fabio Lopiano and published by Board&Dice. In the center of the main board is the location of Monte Alban, the capital of the Zapotec state. Surrounding it are the 3 valleys, Etla, Ocotlan, and Mitla. The players will be building temples, cornfields, and villages in the 3 valleys, generate resources for building pyramids, making sacrifices to the gods, and performing rituals. Each round, the players will simultaneously pick a card from their hand and play it. That card will depict which resources they will be collecting and also provide some kind of restriction for where they can build their various buildings. The players will also be able to activate special abilities, make sacrifices to the gods, and build pyramids. There are 2 types of resources in the game. There are basic resources, which are wood, stone, and brick, and which are depicted by the square resources. And there are the advanced resources, which are priests, corn, and gold, which are depicted by the circular resource tokens. The players will start the game with a hand of cards. Each card depicts a type of resource at the top, some kind of restriction in the middle, and an initiative value at the bottom. The resource depicted at the top of the card will determine which of the resource rows that the player will activate on the resource grid of their player board. The middle section will depict either, as in this case, a type of building, or a type of region, or a type of terrain. The property depicted restricts the player's ability to build. If a type of building is depicted, then only that type of building can be constructed during the player's turn, either cornfields, villages, or in this case, a temple. If a type of terrain is depicted, then the player can only construct buildings in that type of terrain, either, as in this case, the plains, the hills, or the forests. If a region is depicted, then the player will only be able to construct buildings in that region. So if I chose to play this first card, I would be able to construct buildings in any type of terrain and in any region, but only temples. If I were to choose the second card to play, I could construct any type of building in any region, but only in the plains terrain type. And if I were to choose the last card to play, I could construct any type of building in any type of terrain, but only in the region depicted on the card. Once the players have decided which card to play, they will reveal their cards and perform their actions according to the initiative order depicted on the bottom of the cards. Every turn follows 5 simple steps, which are all depicted on the player aid that each player has access to. First, you'll be collecting resources based on the card that you chose to play. In this case, this is the card that I played, which depicts a stone resource at the top. That means that I get to activate either the stone row or the stone column of the resource grid on my player board. After I have collected the resources, I will be able to perform capital actions to either construct pyramids in the center of Monte Alban, acquire trade tiles by spending gold in exchange for powerful abilities, or by using priest and sacrificing corn, you can advance on the sacrifice track. The last capital action available to you involves performing a ritual. Each game there will be 3 randomly chosen rituals, each of them which will have an ability that will score at the end of the game. When it comes to the construction step, you are able to construct as many buildings as you can afford, as long as you obey the restrictions provided by the card that you played. In this case, I would be able to construct any number of temples, but only temples, not cornfields or villages. However, I am free to construct the temples in any type of terrain and in any region on the game board. After deciding what type of building and where you would like to construct it and paying the resources, you'll be replacing one of those tiles on the game board with a building from your player board. The tile that you replaced will be placed on one of the open spaces on your resource grid. Here's an example player board from later in the game. As you can see, if I decide to play a card which shows the stone resource at the top, in addition to the stone provided by the card, I will also be collecting an additional brick, stone, wood as basic resources, and a priest and 2 corn if I choose the bottom row. Whereas if I were to choose the stone column, I would only be collecting the stone, 2 wood, a coin, and a corn. Finally, after constructing all the buildings that they want and are able to, the player will score victory points based on the current round's bonus card. In this case, 2 victory points for every temple that you have on the board, whether it was built during this round or a previous round. At the conclusion of your turn, the action card that you used will be discarded and you'll draw a new one from the available offer. At the end of the round, after all players have taken their turns, the last action card, which was not chosen, will be added as the bonus card for the following round. Then, the discarded cards, along with the new card from the draw deck, will become the offer for next round. At the end of the game, players will score based on their position on the sacrifice track. You get more victory points for being higher on the sacrifice track than other players. You will score victory points for rituals that you were able to participate in, as well as points based on the scoring rules for the pyramids that you are participating in. Zapotec is a fast-paced game without sacrificing depth or strategy. It gives you the full Eurogame experience in just about an hour of play. Even though the game is played over just 5 rounds, which means that each player only has 5 actions during the game, the actions quickly ramp up and you are able to perform more and more powerful actions, but only if you have planned accordingly.